And we're live, pre-recorded actually. Today we're going to take a look at Omisego, OMG, as it's actually kind of budding up along the bottom. It's always nice. We'll take a look at Cardano. You guys always ask about Litecoin and Digibyte, so we'll try to squeeze those in as well. So with that in mind, let's take a look at today's charts, and we're going to throw Bitcoin in there because obviously that's our unit of account. So we're going to start with OMG here. We'd actually rode some of the highs here. We sold, we didn't actually sell anywhere near the top. I think we pretty much broke even when we originally entered into Omisego. At this time of year, we were just super busy before 2018 started. So we picked up here in the early of December. And then we rode up to this probably midway here and then fell back down. We actually sold around here, so we pretty much broke even. But what's nice now is here we are all the way back down at the bottom. And now this is Omisego to Bitcoin. If we were to look at it to US dollars, we're actually up still. But obviously, if Bitcoin is our unit of account, we do want to trade against that. Otherwise, it's probably better just to sit in Bitcoin if that were the case. But there's a lot of value that can be taken here. In Cliff High's, one of his recent interviews, he was talking about how Omisego might end up being one of the general payment infrastructures for Asia as well as the United States. We're looking at this token all the way down near the bottom again. And basically, so this is what's happening. Because we're keeping such a close eye on Bitcoin, we want to know what happens next in the Bitcoin world so that we can start to enter positions in the alternative digital currency space. The reason being is that once Bitcoin starts to really find its upward momentum, then the other tokens are going to follow too. And as we saw last year, there's these nice pivots between Bitcoin and the alternative digital currencies. And because of that, you can actually make substantial gains. I mean, from Cardano, we saw 300% in a few weeks. With Neo, we went from ant shares to a high of $300. So from pennies to hundreds of dollars. It's really about riding those waves and exiting. Now, a lot of people have the hodl mentality. I'm not a big fan of that. Unless it's Bitcoin. I think hodling Bitcoin's a great idea. Just keep accumulating. I don't really care what price it's at. The more you have, the better you can price average, I guess, to some degree. Obviously, buying any sharp high is not a smart idea. We do look for constant returns to lows. But so to jet back here to Bitcoin, we've actually had four consecutive higher lows now. And that's actually a really positive. It's really positive in its momentum. So what we're looking for, and I've said this a few times already, is this breakout past this really heavy support line. If we break, first off, we have to hit it. So around $6,800 to $7,000 is where I suspect we will hit. But it's whether we break through that or not. If we don't break through that, we're going to continue the downtrend, and we'll likely can actually create a lower low from that experience. But until that happens, I'm not going to pick any direction in any other alternative digital asset. But as we can see, a lot of them are, like I was saying, with Omisego down near their all-time lows. Digibyte, one of our favorite POW blockchains, is actually in the same position as well. It's butted itself up here in one of this consistent pattern around the 382 for this 373 Satoshi mark. It's been dragging along at this area, but we actually saw 100% profit taking just a month ago. So sometimes when you enter in these positions, you can have really quick profit taking. So that happened with Ripple too. I'm going to only look at Ripple here because it had a recent price, a large price spike. And let's go to that. Yeah, let's zoom in closer here so I can show you what I'm seeing on Ripple. See how we didn't break out past this 786 line on any of these. This was a big indicator. See, we had this large candle wick up to this 100% mark, and then we fell back down very, very quickly. There was no volume on that candle at all. It was just a wick. And again here, we broke through the 618 momentarily, but couldn't get to the 786. So we're going to retrace. I suspect that if you are interested, and I'm not, in Ripple, these are around the 37-cent mark is probably a good entry point. Again, this is all about not leaving value on the table. And I think another thing that Cliff High and Bixweir is their interview, I think it was really important to pay attention to, was the fact that as these are considered currencies, it's very unlikely that you'll have to pay capital gains taxes on them, because you don't have to do that when trading one currency to another, even if you actually were profiting off that arbitrage. So I suspect that we will see that part of the story unfold over the next little while. So something like Ripple, they're actually using Ripple to do just that. They're using it to trade between US dollars and euros as a transfer between, so you don't have to use the old SWIFT system, which is extremely slow and pretty much decrepit at this point. A lot of you guys were asking about Litecoin as well. Litecoin had a nice spike here, but as you can see, the volume didn't break through on the hourly chart, although we do have a lot of upward momentum here on Litecoin, especially if you look at the, we're on the 4 hour. So down here at the bottom, you can see your moving average, convergence, divergence. It's just breaking through on the 4 hour. I prefer to look at it on the 1 day, and we're just about to break through here as well. So we could actually see another slight kick back up to around $70 for Litecoin. But again, everything seems to be entirely dependent on Bitcoin's price movement, and there is a reason for that. I'm 100% or almost 100%. Let's go 90%. That way, there's any time you say something is impossible, it's going to come back and slap you in the face. So I'm around 90% positive that Bitcoin is going to remain the fundamental underlying asset for value transfer. It already has solved problems that people don't really comprehend. And that's a huge thing, because value is all about perception. And until people perceive the reason why it's valuable, it just won't make sense, and it won't really drive that price up like we know it can. So because Bitcoin could still see a little bit lower in the downtrend here, I do suspect that Litecoin could do the same. I mean, Litecoin could drop all the way down to $30. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to do that, but it's really dependent on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin doesn't go back to its and break out of this trend line here, everything is going to fall with it. Again, I'm around 90% positive that the entire market will follow Bitcoin, because it's pretty much our dollar. Now, it's obviously better than the dollar. Otherwise, no one would care. But the dollar is what's to blame for most of the problems here. Now, a lot of people don't understand that. They entered this space thinking it's like the old stock market. But what they don't realize is that those things are extremely flawed, and by nature, they actually impoverish the people that are already impoverished. And that's not really what we want. We want a system that decentralizes power so that it can create more equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. I mean, you can give $5,000 to 10 different people, and what each of those people is able to accomplish with that money is drastically different. A lot of people are just going to spend it on stupid things like nice shoes, a hoodie, and a purse. Whereas me, if you've been watching this show, I've had this hoodie for this is 2 years now, and I love this hoodie. I'm not going to go out and waste money on nonsense. So I think the difference between what people do with something, which is the outcome of energy, is drastically different than the opportunity. You can give them the exact same opportunity, but most of them won't know how to take advantage of it. I believe they call that the Pareto's principle. You will have maybe 20% of the people that will actually be able to take advantage of anything that you give them in the first place. Now, that's same to be said about opportunity. You have to work really hard. You have to be available to actually meet that opportunity. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if you're not prepared, you can't take advantage of that opportunity as it shows up. So lastly here, I wanted to look at Cardano. Cardano and XLM. Now, XLM I'm not a big fan of, but it's a kind of a copy of XRP. China and the Asian communities are known for basically taking whatever we have working in the West here and rewriting their own versions of it. So I suspect XLM might do that. But Cardano is a really interesting topic because we had such a massive price movement in early December here. And for any of you that rode this wave with us, wow, that was fantastic. It was very easy to turn. I think we $1,000 we'll use as a base. It turned into around 20,000 because it was sitting at pennies here, and then we shot up almost 10 times. So there was a massive move in Cardano, and now we've retraced that entire movement. Again, this is kind of the proof for why hodling isn't a great idea if you're trading alternative digital currencies. With Bitcoin, great. Just hold, accumulate more. That's my sentiments with Bitcoin. It's always been that way. Obviously, investing, I think a lot of people don't understand this. First off, not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. Only play with money you can lose, because investing usually means you have to lock it up for 3 to 5 years, which a lot of people don't think about. In long-term investments, where I'm not investing long-term in Cardano and I wasn't investing long-term in Litecoin. I was looking for short gains, which is what you can do that in such a volatile ecosystem. So I do suspect we will see that. I know Vitalik Buterin said we won't see 1,000% gains anymore, but I think he's highly mistaken. And I think the reason why he's made a fatal error there in his judgments is because he doesn't, maybe he's trying to ignore the problems. I think as we get more and more as we raise the level of professionalism in this space, we kind of just expect that regulation is key. But what we have to remember is that all of these things have destroyed regulation as we know it today. Look, Bitcoin already does something that most people can't comprehend. For instance, a few days ago, one of the largest banks owners of $280 billion money laundering fraud. I could just type this in. I'm sure it will show up. No, not Bernie Madoff. That could have been him, though. I was one of these banks. Dang it. I thought it would show up a little easier than that at a bank. But anyways, they were charged with money laundering. And in fact, $280 billion is higher than the entire market cap of crypto right now. And this is really what all those rules and regulations are supposed to be for. The reason why you have to go through all this nonsense is to stop people like that. But it doesn't do it. Humans are corruptible, and it will always be that way. Whereas this way, we're actually baking into the cake freedoms of the responsibility of the sovereign individual. You can hold your own assets. You're in charge of your own assets, which means if you lose them, that's it. That was your fault. It's not about giving your power away to someone else. It's about remaining in control of your own sovereign self. And that's a really big part of the concept that people don't necessarily grasp so easy. But Bitcoin solved a lot of that. We've solved cross-border money transfers that are censorship resistant. There's no one that can stop me from sending Bitcoin. Even if all of the miners were to slowly start to drop off, maybe it would take longer, but you can't stop it. And that's a really unique function. The other idea there is that if miners were to start to drop off, and I'm not saying this is the case, the algorithm actually gets easier. As far as I know now, if anyone knows better, please correct me in the comments down below, because sometimes I just say stuff and we have updated technology where it no longer does that. So I'm not entirely sure. But in the past, that was the case. The algorithm would actually become easier or harder depending on how many people were trying to crack it at that given moment. So Bitcoin is I think is going to do very, very well as a global money transfer system. Now, just to give Bcash a little bit of a sunlight spot here, because I think it sits in the same spot as Litecoin and Digibyte, is that they're acting as currencies. Now, one of the things that, again, one of the things I think that's commonly overlooked here is that currency is actually less valuable than money. Now, currency is just an instantaneous means of transfer of value, but those values are usually significantly less. For instance, anyone that's using a Visa or a MasterCard is usually quite limited by how much they spend per shot. Whereas if I want to send a wire transfer, we could send hundreds of millions of dollars, but you just have to go through the paperwork. And the SWIFT system is quadrillions, right? So there's a massive amount of movement in the SWIFT system, and the trillions of dollars that go through Visa or MasterCard's lines, well, sure, those are lots of transactions, but they're all like microtransactions. And if you're doing smaller transactions, that means the token will always be worth less. Now, we get into a very difficult concept here, because we're starting to understand that the perception of value is really one of the most paramount ideas that takes place here when you're trying to chart the fundamental movements here, because this is all emotion. We're charting the emotion of people's sentiments about what they believe is possible, and the price is often baked into the cake. So here we saw a massive run up for Bitcoin Cash, or Bcash. I actually like Bcash better. I still will call a Lambo a Lambo. I won't call it a Lamborghini, mostly because I like to save my breath. And this is the point of decentralization as well. The fact that they didn't get this is like, you have to let the community choose how they would like to address things. And as soon as you tell someone not to do something, it's like the extra motivation to go that mile and say, screw you. So screw you. You can't tell me what or what not to say. As a matter of fact, it's just you just piss people off when you do that. So here's a little PR tip. Don't do that. It'll work out better for you in the long run. Anyways, with that in mind, you saw this massive spike and then this huge reversal, right? This is not a store of value by any means, whereas Bitcoin has been significantly more consistent in its store of value. Bitcoin has never done this. It's never dropped from the high back below the 236 line into its previous lows. Like if we chart Bitcoin, it just has never done that. So Bitcoin is still a significantly stronger form of a store of value, whereas currency has fluctuated massively. People think it's volatile to go up, yes, but it's remained consistent. Whereas if you're looking at Bcash here, it hasn't remained consistent at all. Same with Ripple. You have these massive spikes up. Let's go to the 1 week chart you've had these massive spikes in prices, and then almost a total return to the bottom. It's the same price it was in early of November, pretty much, in comparison to Bitcoin. And that's not a store of value whatsoever. So it's useless for what they're actually claiming. Well, great, you can transfer it fast, but if it doesn't store its value, it's not a good money, let alone a currency. And we've seen that before. The Turkish lira currently down around 20%. The Bolivar in Venezuela is down thousands of percent. So we know that currency can fluctuate wildly, but money like gold it can be volatile. Silver can be volatile, but it actually remains a significantly better store of value, which is really what the term money has come from. Anyways, that's my long-winded rant this morning. Please leave your thoughts, your comments, all your questions down below. Deeply appreciative of all the support, Bear family. Pound that thumbs up button, subscribe, hit that little bell. That way when we go live, you'll be notified. If you are new to the Bear family, please do remember to join the Telegram channel in the links below. That way any of the conversation that we have when we can't do live videos is actually held by the Bear family and myself, as I do have Telegram on my phone or when I'm traveling. A lot easier. We do put updates in there as well. We're bringing more things online. If you haven't checked out our website yet, if you're interested in doing that, go to www.arcanebear.com. We've got swag for sale. I think next week we'll actually do a 20% discount for anyone that wants to purchase, a shirt or a mug or one of the bags or the Arcane Bear hats that we have. Check that out. Extremely grateful. Thank you, guys. We'll see you again on the other side. It's Tio and the Arcane Bear signing off, but not for the rest of the day because I'm going to do a vlog, I hope. Hope for a vlog.